Admiral Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien creatures argue. The Galactic Council chamber was huge, with seats for over 200 different species. Most of them were talking at once, making strange sounds that his translation device turned into words he could understand. He was tired, so very tired. For the past 3 hours they had been discussing the same problem. The Corvin system was dying. Their crops were failing because of some kind of disease that was spreading from planet to planet. Millions of people would starve if someone did not fix it soon, and like always, they wanted Earth to solve it. The Zephyrian delegate was speaking now. His blue skin looked almost purple under the chamber lights. "The humans have solved similar problems before," he said in his high voice. "They must help us again." Jake wanted to laugh, but he kept his face calm. Help them again. As if Earth had not been helping them for over 100 years. As if Dr. Lisa Grant had not already solved 3 major crises this month alone. "Admiral Morrison," called the council speaker, a tall creature with 4 arms and no visible eyes. "Will Earth provide assistance to the Corvin system?" Jake stood up slowly. He looked around the chamber at all the alien faces staring at him. Some looked hopeful, others looked demanding. None of them looked grateful. "Earth will consider the request," he said, in the same tone he always used. The Zephyrian made a sound, like air being let out of a balloon. "Consider it? People are dying. Your species has a duty to help." A duty. Jake felt something hot rise in his chest. When had helping other people become a duty instead of a choice? "The humans are so primitive," said another voice from across the chamber. It was a Rigelian with silver skin and large black eyes. "They solve problems in such simple ways, but I suppose simple problems need simple solutions." Several aliens made sounds that Jake's translator called laughter. He felt his hands tighten into fists, but he kept them at his sides. After the session ended, Jake walked back to the small human quarters. Dr. Lisa Grant was waiting for him with a cup of coffee and a tired smile. "Let me guess," she said. "They want me to fix the Corvin plague. How did you know?" "Because it's Tuesday," Lisa said, sitting down at her desk. "And because I've been reading about their crop failures for weeks. I already have 3 possible solutions." Jake sat down across from her. "3 solutions for a problem they just told us about today. I also have a solution for the mining problems on Centauri 5, the water shortage on New Babylon, and the civil war brewing in the Outer Rim," Lisa said. She sounded as tired as Jake felt. "Because someone has to think ahead around here." "They ever say thank you?" Jake asked. Lisa was quiet for a moment. "The Antaran sent a nice note last year, after I saved their entire civilization from that solar flare. 1 note. In 127 years. It was a very nice note." Jake's communication device beeped. He looked at the message and felt his stomach drop. "Captain Parker needs to see us. Emergency meeting." They found Captain Sam Parker in the secure communication room, talking to a screen showing President Maria Santos back on Earth. The president looked angry. "Admiral Morrison," she said when she saw him. "I've been reading the reports. The Council has made 57 requests for human assistance in the past 6 months. 57. "Yes, Madam President." "And how many times have they offered to help us with anything?" Jake thought about it. 0 times, Madam President." "That's what I thought." President Santos leaned forward. "Do you know what I learned today, Admiral? I learned that Earth has prevented 17 wars in the past decade. 17 wars that would have killed billions of people. Do you know how many species have offered to help us prevent even 1 conflict?" 0, Madam President. I also learned that Dr. Grant has personally solved 43 extinction-level problems for other species. 43 times she has saved entire civilizations. Do you know how many times anyone has tried to save us from anything? Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. 0. "The Zephyrians called our methods primitive today," President Santos continued. "The same Zephyrians who begged us to save their colony ships just last month. The same Zephyrians who would be extinct if Dr. Grant had not figured out how to fix their breeding problems 15 years ago. Dr. Grant spoke up from her chair. Madam President, they don't understand how much we do. If we explained it to them. Dr. Grant, with respect, we've been explaining it for over a century. They don't want to understand. They want us to fix their problems and then forget we exist until the next crisis. Captain Parker cleared his throat. What are your orders, Madam President? President Santos was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was very calm. I'm calling an emergency session of Congress tonight. We're going to discuss Earth's membership in the Galactic Council. Jake felt his heart start beating faster. Madam President, are you suggesting... I'm suggesting that maybe it's time for Earth to take care of Earth for a while. Let the galaxy take care of itself. The screen went dark. The three humans sat in silence for several minutes. She's serious, Captain Parker said finally. Good, said Jake, surprising himself. Maybe it's time they learned what the universe looks like without humans cleaning up their messes. Dr. Grant looked worried. But people will die if we don't. Help them. People die anyway, Jake said. And we can't save everyone forever. 3 days later, Jake stood in the council chamber one last time. He had a single piece of paper in his hand. The chamber was full because word had spread that something important was happening. The council speaker gestured for him to approach. Admiral Morrison, we understand Earth has reached a decision about the Corvin crisis. Jake walked to the center of the chamber. Every alien eye was on him. He looked around at all the faces that had demanded so much from his species for so long. Earth has reached a decision, he said clearly, but not about the Corvin crisis. The chamber grew very quiet. Jake held up the paper. Humanity hereby severs all ties with the Galactic Council. We withdraw our membership immediately. We wish you well in your future endeavors. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the shouting started. Commander Alex Chen stared at the screens in Earth's intelligence center. Numbers and reports flowed across dozens of monitors, showing what was happening across the galaxy. It had been 3 days since Admiral Morrison delivered Earth's withdrawal notice to the Galactic Council. The aliens were not taking it well. Sir, called operator Jenny Walsh from her station. We're getting another message from the council speaker. What does it say this time? Alex asked. Same as the others. They want to know when we're coming back to discuss terms. Alex almost smiled. Terms, as if Earth leaving was just another negotiation. The aliens still did not understand that humanity was serious. File it with the rest, he said. Any word from our people coming home? Captain Foster's ships are 3 days out from the Rigel system. Ambassador Torres is leading the evacuation from Centauri Station. Everyone should be back in Sol space within 2 weeks. Alex nodded. Operation Homecoming was going smoothly. Every human diplomat, scientist, engineer, and worker was returning to Earth. After more than a century of living among the aliens, humanity was coming home. Dr. Kevin Walsh walked into the command center carrying a thick folder. He looked tired but satisfied. The agricultural reports are in, Kevin said, dropping the folder on Alex's desk. The Corvin plague is spreading faster than they thought. It's jumped to 3 more systems. How bad? Bad. Their food production will drop by 60% in the next 6 months. Without intervention, they're looking at mass starvation across 7 worlds. Alex felt a small pang of guilt, but he pushed it away. What would you have done if you were still there? Kevin thought for a moment. Introduced modified bacteria to eat the plague organism. Simple fix, really. Would have taken me about 2 weeks to implement. And now? Now they'll have to figure it out themselves. The main screen lit up with an incoming priority message. Alex accepted it, and the image of a tall Zephyrian appeared. It was Minister Velkanos, one of the more reasonable council members. Commander Chen, the alien said in his high voice. We must speak urgently. Minister, Alex replied politely. What can I do for you? This withdrawal cannot be serious. Surely, Earth is simply making a point. We are prepared to discuss adjustments to our relationship. I'm afraid Earth's position is final, Minister. The Zephyrian's blue skin grew darker. But the Corvin situation requires immediate attention. Dr. Grant must return to help us. Dr. Grant is no longer available for consultation. This is ridiculous, Velcanos said, his calm breaking. You cannot simply abandon your responsibilities. Alex felt his own patience wearing thin. Minister, with respect, Earth never signed any contract agreeing to solve every galactic crisis. We helped because we chose to help. But people will die. People die every day, Minister. Earth is not responsible for every tragedy in the galaxy. The transmission ended abruptly. Alex turned back to his screens, but another alert was already flashing. Sir, Jenny called out, we've got a situation developing in the Andorian mining zone. What kind of situation? Complete system failure. Their main computers crashed, and they can't get the mining operations back online. They're requesting immediate human technical assistance. Alex pulled up the file on Andorian mining. The consortium ran the largest mining operation in known space, extracting rare metals from asteroid fields across 12 systems. Their computer systems were incredibly complex, designed by human engineers 15 years ago. Who usually handles their tech problems? Alex asked. Engineer Mike Collins and his team. They've been stationed there for 8 years. Where are they now? On their way home, sir. Collins said he shut down all the human-maintained systems before he left. Alex felt a cold understanding settle over him. The Andorians had depended on human engineers to keep their systems running. Now those engineers were gone, and the aliens had no idea how to fix anything. How much of the galactic economy depends on Andorian mining? He asked. Dr. Walsh looked up from his reports. About 30% of all rare metal production if they can't get back online. The ripple effects will hit dozens of systems, Alex finished. Another alert chimed. This one was from the outer colonies. Sir, we've got a diplomatic crisis brewing between the Rigel Federation and the Colonial Alliance. Tensions are rising. Fast. Alex rubbed his temples. Who usually mediates those disputes? Ambassador Helen Torres. But she's on her way home. Right. The problems were starting faster than Alex had expected. In just 3 days, the galaxy was already feeling the absence of human problem solvers. His personal communicator buzzed. It was a message from Captain Ben Foster, who was leading one of the evacuation fleets. Alex, the message read, you need to see this. I'm sending you a data package from our stop at Research Station Omega 7. The data package contained hundreds of files, work orders, consultation requests, and problem reports, all addressed to humans, all marked urgent. Alex opened file after file, each one showing another crisis that would normally require human intervention. Equipment failures, diplomatic disputes, technical problems, resource shortages, medical emergencies. Kevin, Alex called out, come look at this. Dr. Walsh came over and started reading over Alex's shoulder. His eyes grew wider with each file. This is just from one research station, Kevin asked. One station in one system. Alex scrolled through more files. Look at the dates. Some of these requests are from yesterday. They're still asking for human help, even after we left. Alex opened another file. It was a frantic message from a Centauri agricultural world, begging for Dr. Grant to help with a crop disease that was destroying their harvest. They don't understand, Jenny said from her station. They think this is temporary. They think we're coming back. Sir, another operator called out. We're getting reports of 3 separate conflicts that just escalated from disputes to actual fighting, all in regions where human peacekeepers recently withdrew. Alex felt a strange mix of satisfaction and concern. On one hand, the galaxy was finally seeing how much humanity contributed. On the other hand, people were actually dying. What's the council doing about all this? He asked. Emergency sessions every day, but they can't make decisions fast enough. Everything gets stuck in committee while they debate protocols. That was the problem, Alex realized. The aliens approached every crisis the same way. Form a committee, debate for weeks, compromise until nobody was happy. Humans just fixed things. Dr. Walsh was still reading through the files. Alex, do you realize what this means? We weren't just helping with big crises. We were solving hundreds of small problems every single day. Problems so routine that nobody even noticed them. Until now. Until now. Alex's main screen lit up with another incoming message. This time it was from 5 different species, all asking for the same thing: immediate human assistance with critical problems. He looked at the requests for a long moment, then closed them all without responding. "Sir?" Jenny asked. "Aren't you going to answer them?" "No," Alex said firmly. "Let them figure it out themselves. Maybe they'll learn to appreciate what they had." But even as he said it, Alex wondered how long the galaxy could survive without human problem solvers keeping everything running smoothly. 6 months had passed since Earth cut all ties with the Galactic Council. Dr. Emma Clark sat in her office on Luna Station, watching the galaxy fall apart through her computer screens. The numbers were worse than anyone had imagined. "General Martinez," she called to the man standing by the window. "You need to see this." General Ryan Martinez walked over to her desk. His uniform was crisp, but his face showed the strain of the past months. As Earth's strategic defense coordinator, he had been preparing for possible alien retaliation. What he had not expected was complete galactic chaos. "What is it this time, Emma?" Dr. Clark pointed to her main screen. "The Corvin plague has spread to 15 systems now. The death toll just hit 20 million. Ryan felt his stomach tighten. 20 million people. "Could we have stopped it?" "Dr. Grant says she could have had it contained in the first week. Now it's too widespread for any simple solution." Another screen showed economic data from across the galaxy. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for decades were collapsing. Supply chains were breaking down. Entire industries were shutting down because they could not get the materials they needed. "The Andorian Mining Consortium finally went bankrupt yesterday," Emma continued. "They never figured out how to restart their systems after our engineers left." "What about the other mining operations?" 17 companies have closed in the past 3 months. Rare metal prices have increased by 400%. Ryan shook his head. When the humans had designed and maintained those systems, everything had run perfectly. Now the aliens were learning that copying human technology was not the same as understanding it. A communication alert chimed. Emma accepted it, and the image of Captain Ben Foster appeared on screen. He was calling from the bridge of his patrol ship near the edge of Sol space. "General Doctor," Ben said with a grim expression, "we've got visitors." "What kind of visitors?" Ryan asked. 3 Zephyrian cruisers just dropped out of hyperspace at the system boundary. They're requesting permission to approach Earth. Ryan and Emma exchanged glances. This was the first time any alien ships had come to Sol since the withdrawal. "What do they want?" Emma asked. "They say they have an urgent message from the Galactic Council. They're asking to speak with President Santos directly." "Tell them the President is not available for meetings with Council representatives," Ryan said firmly. "Already did, sir. They say they'll wait." "For how long?" Quote, "As long as it takes." Ryan closed the communication and turned back to Emma's screens. More bad news was flowing in every minute. The Rigel Federation and the Colonial Alliance had finally gone to war. Without human peacekeepers to mediate their disputes, small arguments had grown into major conflicts. 3 star systems were now battlegrounds. "How many wars are active now?" Ryan asked. Emma checked her files. 7 major conflicts, 15 smaller ones, all in regions where human diplomatic teams used to operate. Casualties? Over 1 billion, dead or displaced in the past month alone. Ryan felt sick. 1 billion people, all because the aliens could not solve their own problems without human help. "There's more," Emma said quietly. "I've been analyzing the data from our intelligence networks. Do you want to know what I found?" "Tell me." "In the 127 years Earth was part of the Council, we solved an average of 3.7 major crises per week. Major crises, Ryan. The kind that could destroy entire civilizations. That's nearly 200 problems per year, for over a century. And that's just the big ones. We also handled thousands of smaller issues. Technical problems, diplomatic disputes, resource shortages, disease outbreaks." Ryan sat down heavily. "No wonder everything is falling apart." Emma pulled up another screen showing refugee movements across the galaxy. Entire populations were fleeing their home worlds as governments collapsed and basic services failed. HFY Council tried to replicate our crisis response methods, she said. They formed the Emergency Solutions Committee. How's that working out? They've been in session for 4 months discussing the Corvin plague. They still haven't agreed on a response. 4 months? They have to get approval from all member species before taking action. By the time they make a decision, most crises have either resolved themselves or gotten much worse. Ryan's personal communicator buzzed. It was a message from Earth's orbital defense stations. Sir, the message read, we have 15 more alien ships requesting permission to enter Sol space, all carrying diplomatic delegations. Ryan showed the message to Emma. They're getting desperate. Look at this, Emma said, pulling up intercepted communications between alien governments. The Council is fracturing. Half the member species are blaming the other half for losing Earth's cooperation. Ryan read through the messages. The Antarans were angry at the Zephyrians for insulting human methods. The Centauri were demanding that someone convince Earth to return. The outer colonies were threatening to leave the Council entirely. They're falling apart, Ryan said. It gets worse. 3 species have already collapsed completely. Their governments can't function without human administrative expertise. They're basically failed states now. Emma opened another file. I've been tracking the problems they're dealing with. Equipment failures they can't fix. Diseases they can't cure. Resource conflicts they can't resolve. Environmental disasters they can't prevent. All things we used to handle routinely. The irony is amazing, Emma said with a bitter laugh. They called us primitive, but they can't solve basic problems without us. Ryan's communicator chimed again. This time it was President Santos calling from Earth. General Martinez, the president said when he answered. I've been reviewing the BIAO situation reports. How bad is it really? Bad, Madam President. The galaxy is in complete chaos. Multiple wars, economic collapse, humanitarian disasters. Everything is falling apart without human intervention. Any regrets about our decision? Ryan thought for a moment. No, Madam President. They needed to learn this lesson. The question is whether they're capable of learning it. What do you mean? They're still approaching this the same way they always have. Committees, debates, bureaucracy. They haven't figured out that some problems need immediate action, not endless discussion. President Santos was quiet for a moment. General, how many ships are waiting at our border now? 23 at last count, Madam President. All carrying diplomatic missions. All begging us to come back and fix their problems. Yes, Madam. President. Well, they can wait a little longer. Maybe hunger and desperation will teach them the respect they should have shown us from the beginning. The communication ended. Ryan looked back at Emma's screens, watching the galaxy burn. You know what the worst part is? Emma said quietly. What? We could fix all of this in a matter of weeks, if we wanted to. Ryan nodded. Human engineers could restart the mining operations. Human doctors could contain the plagues. Human diplomats could end the wars. Human administrators could stabilize the collapsing governments. But Earth was not going to save them this time. The aliens had to learn to save themselves, even if it killed them in the process. 1 year after Earth's withdrawal, Senator Jack Riley stood in the Senate chamber on Earth, watching the vote count on the large screen. The question was simple but crucial. Should humanity remain isolated forever, or consider returning to galactic civilization? The isolationists were winning. The final vote, announced the Senate Speaker, is 847 in favor of permanent isolation, 653 in favor of conditional return. Jack smiled. He had led the isolationist movement from the beginning, and support grew stronger every month. Why should humanity go back to cleaning up alien messes when Earth was thriving on its own? Dr. Carol Turner approached him after the session ended. As Earth's leading xenopsychologist, she had been studying alien behavior patterns since the withdrawal. Senator Riley, she said, have you seen the latest reports from our monitoring stations? I've seen enough, Jack replied. The galaxy is still falling apart, and they still want us to save them. Nothing has changed. Actually, something has changed. The moderate alien leaders are organizing. They're offering things we've never seen before. Jack walked with Carol toward the exit. Like what? Complete autonomy for human territories. Equal voting rights in all council decisions. Formal recognition of human contributions with appropriate compensation. Carol paused. And a public apology from every member species. Too little, too late, is it? Jack, we could reshape galactic civilization. Make it better than it was before. Or we could stay here, safe and prosperous, while they destroy themselves. They stepped outside into the warm afternoon air. Earth's cities were beautiful now, no longer crowded with refugees from failed alien colonies. Human technology was advancing rapidly without the constant drain of solving other species' problems. Admiral Steve Collins approached them from across the plaza. He commanded Earth's defensive fleet, which had grown powerful during the isolation period. "Senator, Doctor," Steve said with a nod. "I thought you should know. We had another incident at the border today." "What kind of incident?" Jack asked. "A Centauri battle group tried to force their way into Sol space. They claimed it was an emergency diplomatic mission." Carol looked concerned. "What did you do?" "Disabled their engines and sent them back," Steve said calmly. "No casualties, but they got the message." Jack felt satisfied. Earth's military had become incredibly effective at dealing with alien intrusions. Every species that tried to force human cooperation had been easily repelled. "How many attempts is that now?" Jack asked. 47 in the past 6 months. They're getting desperate." "Good. Let them be desperate." Carol shook her head. "Jack, people are dying out there. Entire civilizations are collapsing." "Not our problem. Anymore. Isn't it? We're human beings. Helping others is what we do." "Helping people who appreciate it is what we do," Jack corrected. "These aliens had over a century to show us respect. They chose to treat us like servants instead." Steve's communicator chimed. He read the message and frowned. "What is it?" Carol asked. "Intelligence report from our deep space monitoring stations. The Galactic Council officially fractured yesterday. 8 major species have withdrawn to form their own coalition." "The Council is dead?" Jack asked. "Effectively, yes. Without central authority, the remaining species are forming smaller alliances based on mutual survival needs." Carol looked stunned. The Galactic Council lasted for over 3,000 years, and it took 1 year without humans to destroy it, Jack said with grim satisfaction. They walked to the government building where President Maria Santos was holding an emergency cabinet meeting. The president looked older than her years, carrying the weight of humanity's isolation on her shoulders. "Senator." "Riley, Dr. Turner, Admiral Collins," she said as they entered. "I've been reviewing the situation reports. The galaxy has essentially reverted to a pre-council state. Dozens of small conflicts, no central authority, complete breakdown of interstellar law." "Sounds like their problem," Jack said. "President," Santos gave him a sharp look. "Senator, I understand your position, but we need to consider all options. Several moderate alien leaders have made unprecedented offers." "What kind of offers?" "Complete restructuring of galactic government with humans as equal partners, recognition of Earth as a sovereign power with full autonomy, compensation for past services, and this." She handed him a data pad. Jack read it quickly, his eyebrows rising. "A formal apology," he said. "Signed by every surviving government?" 43. Species have already signed. More are being added daily. Carol leaned over to read the document. "They're admitting they were wrong. They're acknowledging that humans saved the galaxy countless times without proper recognition." "It's still just words," Jack said, but his voice had less conviction than before. Admiral Collins spoke up. "There's something else you should know. Our intelligence networks report that several young civilizations are facing extinction. Species that never had contact with the old council. Species that never mistreated humans." "What do you mean?" President Santos asked. "The Kalari. They're a peaceful species about 50 light years from here. Just developed spaceflight 20 years ago. They're facing a plague that will wipe them out in 6 months. Carol looked upset. We could save them easily. We could save a lot of people easily, Steve continued. The question is whether we should. Jack felt uncomfortable. The Kalari had never insulted humans or demanded their services. They were innocent victims of the galaxy's collapse. How many innocent species are we talking about? President Santos asked. At least 12 that we know of, all facing extinction-level problems, all too young or too isolated to have been part of the old system. The room fell silent. Jack stared at the formal apology on the datapad. For the first time since the withdrawal, he felt uncertain. Senator Riley, President Santos said quietly, I know you believe isolation is the answer, but are we really willing to let innocent civilizations die to make a point? Jack thought about Earth's children, growing up in a galaxy where humans were known as the species that abandoned everyone when things got difficult. Was that the legacy he wanted? I need time to think, he said finally. We all do, President Santos replied. But time is running out for a lot of people out there. As Jack left the building, he looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, civilizations were dying, while Earth debated whether to help them. For the first time in a year, he wondered if isolation was really the answer. 18 months after Earth's withdrawal, President Maria Santos stood before the largest gathering in human history. Every nation on Earth had sent representatives to the Global Assembly. The question before them would determine the future of both humanity and the galaxy. Should Earth return to galactic civilization? Dr. Rachel Kim walked to the podium first. As the head of Earth's new Xeno-diplomacy program, she had spent months studying the requests for help flooding in from across the galaxy. Fellow humans, she began, her voice carrying across the vast hall. I want to tell you about the Kalari. The hall grew quiet. Everyone had heard about the young alien species facing extinction. The Kalari developed spaceflight just 20 years ago. They are peaceful farmers and artists. They have never hurt anyone. They have never demanded anything from us. But they are dying from a plague that our doctors could cure in 2 weeks. Rachel paused, letting her words sink in. Yesterday, I received a message from their world. A simple message. It said, "We have heard that humans help people. Please help us. We do not want to die." She looked around the hall at thousands of human faces. They do not know about our conflict with the Galactic Council. They do not know about the insults we suffered or the lack of gratitude we received. They only know that humans have a reputation for helping others, and they are asking us to live up to that reputation. Senator Jack Riley felt his chest tighten. He had led the isolationist movement for over a year, but hearing about the Kalari made him question everything. Rachel continued. There are 11 other young civilizations in similar situations. Species that never knew the old council existed. Species that are dying because the galaxy lost its problem solvers. She stepped away from the podium. Ambassador Paul Anderson took her place. He had been Earth's chief negotiator with the moderate alien coalition. The formal offers are unprecedented, Paul said, holding up a thick document. Complete human autonomy, equal representation in all decisions, the right to refuse any request for help, and compensation for our past services. He opened the document. 49 species have signed formal apologies acknowledging their past treatment of humanity. They admit they took our help for granted. They admit they showed us no respect. And they promise to do better. Pretty words, called out someone from the isolationist section. How do we know they mean it? Paul smiled. Because they are desperate. The galaxy learned what happens without human problem solvers. They will never make that mistake again. Admiral Jake Morrison approached the podium next. The man who had delivered Earth's withdrawal notice now carried himself differently. The anger was gone, replaced by quiet confidence. Friends, he said, I want to tell you what I have learned in these 18 months. He looked around the hall. The galaxy did not respect us because we never demanded respect. We solved their problems and asked for nothing in return. We acted like servants when we should have acted like partners. The old system is dead, Jake continued. The Galactic Council collapsed. The species that insulted us have either apologized or been replaced by new governments. We have the chance to build something completely new. What are you proposing? Asked Senator Riley. That we return, but on our terms. That we establish the Terran Advisory Network with humans in leadership positions. That no major galactic decision can be made without human approval. That we become the galaxy's recognized problem solvers, with the authority and respect that position deserves. The hall erupted in discussion. Some delegates were nodding, others looked concerned. President Santos took the podium. I have made my decision, she announced, and the hall fell silent. But first I want to share something with you. Dr. Kim brought me a message from the Kalari children. Would you like to hear it? She activated a holographic display. The image of young Kalari appeared, their large eyes full of hope and fear. Please, humans, said a small voice through the translator. Our parents are sick. Our teachers say you know how to make them better. We promise to be good if you help us. The hall was completely silent. Many delegates had tears in their eyes. President Santos looked around the assembly. This is who we are. This is what makes us human. We help others, not because they deserve it, but because it is right. But, she continued, her voice growing stronger, we also learned an important lesson. Helping others does not mean accepting disrespect. Being generous does not mean being weak. She turned to face the entire assembly. I propose that Earth return to galactic civilization, but as leaders, not servants. We will help those who need help, but we will do it as equals, with full authority and proper recognition. The vote was closer than expected. 1,147 in favor of return, 1,156 in favor of continued isolation. Humanity had decided by the slimmest margin to rejoin galactic civilization. 6 months later, Admiral Morrison stood in the rebuilt council chambers on the neutral world of Haven. The new Galactic Accord had been signed by 63 species. Humanity held the position of Director General, with absolute authority over crisis response. The chamber looked different now. The human section was no longer a small corner, but the central platform. When Admiral Morrison spoke, every alien representative listened with respectful attention. The Kalari plague has been eliminated, Jake announced to the assembly. Dr. Lisa Grant's medical team successfully treated all infected individuals. The Kalari civilization will survive. Grateful sounds came from across the chamber. The Kalari delegate, a small creature with large eyes, stood and bowed deeply toward the human section. Thank you, she said in her musical voice. Our children will remember. Jake smiled. The Terran Advisory Network has also resolved the resource conflicts in the Outer Rim, restarted the mining operations in 17 systems, and mediated peace agreements in 12 ongoing wars. More sounds of approval filled the chamber. However, Jake continued, his voice growing serious, let me be clear about something. Humanity helps because we choose to help. We are partners in this alliance, not employees. We will solve problems because it is right, not because it is demanded. He looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. The old system failed because it was built on exploitation and disrespect. This new system will succeed because it is built on mutual cooperation and shared responsibility. The Zephyrian delegate stood. Director General Morrison, on behalf of all member species, we thank humanity for returning to help us build a better galaxy. Jake nodded. Together, we will build something greater than any of us could achieve alone. As the session ended, Jake looked up at the stars visible through the chamber's transparent dome. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy at last, not as servants or isolationists, but as the leaders they had always been meant to be. The galaxy was finally learning to appreciate what humans had always known, that helping others was not a weakness, but the greatest strength of all.